Welcome back to another video, guys. It's the middle of the Victorian summer school holidays, and for the first leg of our trip we stayed at the Big 4 Park Lane holiday park in Traralgon, set in the heart of Gippsland, which is roughly about a 2-hour drive southeast from Melbourne. We visited the historic gold mining township of Walhalla, once one of Victoria's richest gold towns, which was founded in 1862 and is still beautifully preserved. Whilst we were here, we took the long tunnel extended gold mine tour. Let's take a look around the park and see what it has to offer. As you can see, you really get a feel for the place, and even during peak holiday season, it's virtually empty. We booked the campsite with the ensuite attached. It's a little bit pokey, but here's what you get. Have a look. Looking around, you'll find all the usual amenities, though they could have been kept a little bit cleaner. The park has an indoor play centre and a day space area that also doubles as a function room, and are both open to the public. We chose this location purely for the kids' recreation facilities. They look fantastic on the website, but it doesn't mention that they are open to the public or that there are additional costs for each activity. As you can see, the playroom is on the smaller side. There is a playground, a jumping pillow, a pool and a spa. The pool is pretty small. The day we swam there was about 10 kids and it felt packed. We also decided to pass on the spa. There's also mini golf, laser tag and a high ropes course, but these come at an extra cost and are open to the public, something that was not advertised on the Big 4 website, which is a little bit disappointing. That said, we made the most of it. We gave everything a go. We made some awesome memories and even some good friends along the way. We're just about to play 18 holes of mini golf.
18? That's too long.
That's
That would take long.
take long.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good course, H. I think there's minions
No,
and
there's not minions.
cars and all sorts of stuff here.
Cars, but there's not minions.
Oh, I reckon there is.
No, there's no.
If you're liking this video so far, hit the like button, share it with your friends and subscribe for more fun trips.
Big guy, big guy, SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid, SpongeBob.
No pressure.
1, 2.
Piss off, I'm starting again like the rest of them.
What? You saw it.
2.
Shit! I reckon it's far too small.
Oh, yay. 5.
Hey, Harrow, I told you there was minions.
SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. Big things about to happen today. I woke up feeling a brand new way, facing the world in a brand new way. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. Take this square hips, doing a dance to my big guy pants. About to the top of the list I am, and on my purse they came fresh out of clamp. Big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. Big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, kid. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. When I wake up, I'm feeling my best. Big things about to happen today. I bend over, I do my little stretch. I woke up feeling a brand new way. Ain't no jellyfish, but I'm the catch. Facing the world in a brand new way. Feel like that fish, so I'm puffing my chest. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid. SpongeBob, big guy, pencil kid.
Let's explore the streets of the historic township of Walhalla together and see what makes it so special. Walhalla is a tiny historic gold rush town in Gippsland. Back in the 1880s, 4,000 people lived here, and today you can still see the original wooden buildings along with its steep streets. Explore the long tunnel extended gold mine, ride the Walhalla Goldfields Railway, or wander the surrounding trails for stunning scenery and wildlife. With its historic charm and beautiful settings, Walhalla is a small town with a big story and definitely worth a visit.
Muscles. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, cool, eh? What about you? You like it? Yes, sweet as. Alright, ready? Hello, welcome to the Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine. My name is Karen, or Kaz, and I'm going to be your tour guide for the next 45 minutes to an hour. We're going in about 220 metres, so it's a round trip of just over 520. It's well lit, well ventilated throughout. We're not going up or down any levels today whatsoever, but there is one nice spot that we do have to duck down in. All you taller ones, please watch your heads as we keep going along through this mine. You may need to duck more than the rest of us, so just be careful. Now, we are a wet mine as well, so you may find that you get drops of water on you. That's expected. Also, we just ask everyone to walk between the tracks. It's usually just that little bit nicer underfooting. As I said, we are a wet mine, so you might find that little bits of areas on the floor can be a little bit slippery, so we'll just take our time as we go through. We ask everyone, please do not touch the walls and the roof of the mine. It is rock, so it may cut your hands, so please try and leave the walls and the roof of the mine alone. We ask everyone to stay together as a group. Do not wander off on me and go do your own tour. Just stay with me and I'll get you all through and out nicely. I think that's it for all the safety side. You are all more than welcome to ask questions, take photos throughout, and I'll do my best to look after you and answer all those questions throughout the way. But let's get into some history and get underground. So it was originally Ned Stringer and his 3 companions that found alluvial gold here. And they found that in 1862. They found that in Stringer's Creek that goes into the Thompson River. They said there was that much gold in that creek, they could actually see it shining before they got in to start panning. Now Ned Stringer heads across to a town called Bald Hills. It is now a town called Seaton, and it's actually about a 2-week horse ride for him to get across there and to get back. So you can imagine every night he stopped, might have chatted to a few local blokes, got the word out that there was some gold down here in Walhalla. Within a good couple of months, there's a good couple of hundred men in that creek all panning to get that alluvial gold out and to try and get themselves a little bit of prosperity in their lives. Now, as I said, within that couple of months, all these 100 men down here taking that alluvial gold out of the creek. Well, within a good couple of months, all of that alluvial gold is then taken out of the creek, and now all these men now need to find where that alluvial gold had been coming from. They'd start searching the waterways and they start searching our hillside. There was a man by the name of John Hedgecliffe that actually finds our quartz outcrop up here on our western ridge. They test that quartz outcrop. They find that it is gold bearing, so they found that source of where all that alluvial gold's been coming from. If you are not sure what quartz is, everyone, quartz is that great big white rock you can see over in our metal garden. That is a piece of that outcrop. Good luck trying to take it out of here. I don't think it's going to be moving anytime soon. Now, the other thing I'll mention as well is we get alluvial gold here. We are not getting nice chunky nuggets like they are over in Bendigo and Ballarat that are nice valued worth a bit of gold. Alluvial gold is almost like sand, so there is a lot more work that men have to go into to actually get a decent amount of alluvial gold and then get some good value out of it. So a lot more effort's going into it. Now, also, all quartz reefs in Victoria run north to south. I'm not the geologist on our team, so I can't get into it too much with you. The easiest way I can ever explain it is it's something to do with the way the plates work. It will make all quartz reefs run that north to south in Victoria. So at this stage, Hercules Gold Mine, it's 1865. They actually raise up to £14,000 worth of shareholders' money to start this gold mining company right here. And they started in 1865 and they're starting to intercept that quartz reef at an east-west direction. We're going to follow that same line in that these men followed in 1865 and have a bit of a look at this gold mine. If I haven't scared anyone off, let's get underground and have a look at this gold mine. Make a few stops along the way.
Okay.
You reckon you can stop at the silence and wait for them? I'll hand everyone in. 1, 2, 3. I'm not very cold. 4, 6, 7, 8.
Start with the chain. There'll be no service down here.
Right, there's some in my pocket. Come all the way through with me.
What about me?
What about you? I've got something for you too. I think I got enough for all the kids. I'm hoping I do. Another bottle for okay. But then, man, there's something around here. So. Fantastic, we're all here. So we're now about 115 metres into the hillside, taken us around 2 minutes to walk. Took Hercules Mining Company 2 years to get to this point, so very, very slow going. There was none of the machinery that we had this day and age, none of the explosions that they've got this day and age. So this method that these men are using is known as a hammer and a tap. A tap is almost like a star-pointed screwdriver. There's a nice long metal bar. One man gets to hold on to that tap. Another man comes around. I'm going to try and do this on the opposite side. Another man comes around, he gets to hit that tap. And the other man's job was to turn it. So it was a hit, turn, and ever so slowly they get to crush that rock inside that hole. And they need 20 of these holes in an arc-shaped pattern. They need each hole to be at least 90 centimetres into the rock face. They're then able to fill all those holes with good old-fashioned black gunpowder, a bit of a fuse and a wadding. They run that fuse to the front, explode it, come back in, clear it all out, restart that whole process again. So you can imagine the type of work that these men are doing. These men are not getting paid too very much at all. So the mine manager would have been given about $7, and it was his job to split that money up between all his workers. So these men are working for 25 shillings per week. 25 shillings this day and age is valued at $2.50. So we wouldn't even buy a loaf of bread with the amount of work that these men are doing this day and age, and for the hard work they were actually doing. Now, all of this as well, there was definitely no lighting back in those days, so all the work that these men are doing, it's all being done by what is known as a tallow candle. So a tallow candle is a byproduct of animal fat. Sometimes they were not too nice smelling, sometimes they were not too bright light either coming off those candles, so it was pretty hard going for these men. And I can guarantee you no man wanted to hold that tap for a good 8 hours. You'd be wanting to have a go at swinging that hammer or trusting that man that was swinging that hammer at you, because you were definitely doing some hard work. Now, by this stage, 2 years worth of digging, a new mine manager actually comes on site, and he's actually able to read the way of the rock. I've got no idea how he does this. As I said, I am not the geologist in this crew. So these men get told that they have to head the other way, which is going to be down this little adit. So we will be heading down this little adit in a second. It is a lot smaller than our main drive, so I just ask everyone to take their time. Kids are going to be able to get there pretty quickly, but you got to help and wait up for your parents and adults as we go through here, okay? Because you guys are all the right size as little miners, whereas us, we got to duck a bit more, all right? So if everyone's ready, we're going to slowly move our way through this little section. Oh, Reefy, we're fine. We don't need to duck. That's your me. We're going to have it ducking. You're right, Harry, you can clear it.
I got a duck.
I want to duck. You got a duck? I want to take a video. I'm loving this.
I hope you hit your head.
Well, I'm not. I'm nowhere near hitting my head.
What do you reckon, H?
It's a bit of a hill there.
This is like your size tunnel.
Oh, I got a duck a little here.
You need to duck a lot there.
Oh, I'm ducking the whole way.
I'm not.
I need to duck it. I'll fucking hit
I didn't hit which you're ducking.
That's not a bad duck.
Oh, that's coming through. Yeah, we're last. Alright, watch yours and just look at number. Alright. So I guess everyone can kind of imagine how hard it would have been for these men to be holding hammers, swinging taps and holding taps, swinging hammers in little adits like that. So most of the mine that these men were working in back in those days were about that size that we've just come through. So very, very hard going, especially if you were a taller lad. You probably wouldn't want to be stuck in those tunnels too long. Now Hercules get into here. They're very happy when they finally get to here because they finally found what they were looking for, which is this lovely quartz vein. This is known as Cohen's Reef. It is actually one of the biggest quartz reefs within Victoria. It goes for about 3 to 4 kilometres all the way through a hillside, goes all the way to the surface, then on a 70-degree angle all the way back into a hillside. So she's pretty remarkable. You'll also notice there is a grey puggy clay that will sit around it as well. That will also contain that alluvial gold, so with thousands of years of erosion and other bits and pieces, we still get that alluvial gold that slowly makes its way through the hillsides. There are still people that like to come in this town and have a bit of a pan. I've tried to ask them if they're getting anything. They will not tell me, but I can tell you that Hercules mined what they got. So Hercules get into here, they take out about 200 tonne of ore out of this area, and for every tonne of ore they get out, they're only getting about a ½ an ounce size of gold. So where you all got your hard hat from, we have an ore cart that sits out the front, and that roughly holds about a ½ a tonne of ore. And that only came out every ½ a tonne of ore, was only producing about a $2 size coin of gold. So it was actually costing more to mine, more to process, more to pay its workers than any profit that it was actually making back by this stage. So after 6 years worth of mining, Hercules Gold Mine has now spent all its shareholders' money and can no longer keep mining. So they have now gone bust. But by this stage, after 6 years, there is now 25 other mines running in Walhalla. They are all on different levels to the quartz reef. Those that are lower down are getting better gold quality than those mines that are higher up on the quartz reef. So at this stage, Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine, which we're still known as today, they actually raised up to £56,000 worth of shareholders' money, which is about $50 million in today's standard of money, and all shareholders' money to restart this gold mine. So they've got a lot of money to play with. Their main idea was to put our main drive at 100 metres into the hillside, put a shaft 200 metres down and try and intercept this quartz reef at a lower level. But they're going to be doing it all through the hillside, so it is very, very risky business for the men that were going to be doing this. Now, anyone to get themselves a share back then, you're looking at about £6, which is roughly about $12 in today's standard of money. So if you think that this group of men are earning 25 shillings, or a group of men are earning $7, a single man's earning 25 shillings, how long it would have taken that man or a group of men to actually save up and get themselves a share. So the nice, rich, profitable people that had shares, they were sitting in Melbourne, in Sydney, probably even over in England, but the men that were working in these mines, they were just struggling to put food on the table. So I guess some things in life just don't change. But anyway, is there any questions at all? Everyone's pretty good? Fantastic. We're going to move out of this area. As we do, just watch your heads. It is a little bit lower and it can be a little bit slippery on the ground, a bit clayish. So once we're back into that main drive, it's a lot nicer. And everyone should be able to walk upright. But okay, if everyone's ready, we'll slowly make our way to the next one.
But I want to get a photo in there. I just want to see.
Weißt du? Ja, und ihr könnt nicht gucken, so, wenn ich wieder dann oben ist.
You guys,
Yeah, we'll do it.
Nog wat zijn hier?
Because remember what the lady said, her wall might be a little bit slippery. You have this water on the wall.
I see. You're not trying to dirt for you.
No, I feel like I'm in right now. Donkey Kong.
Oh, can you see that? No, I don't. That's why I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we're about 240 metres into the hillside, and it actually took Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine another 4 years to get to this section. They were still using that hammer and tape method. So it's for about the first 10 years of this mine's operation, it was all being done by that hammer and tape method. So it was very, very slow going for these men, not moving too fast throughout this mine. It wasn't until about 1875 that they were allowed, or pneumatic rock drills came about. So they started using pneumatic rock drills. But these machines were not liked by too many people. They were not liked by the mine managers, they were not liked by the miners, and they were also known as a widowmaker back in the day. So mine managers simply didn't like them because no mine manager wants their mine to have downtime. It meant that mine's not moving forward and making production, which, well, mine managers want to make production because it means they're making money. The men that are using these machines, the miners, they really didn't like them. These machines used to overheat, they used to seize up, but most of all, they used to create so much dust that these men used to get what was known as miner's complaint or miner's lung, or what we know this day and age as silicosis of the lungs, so not a very pleasant machine to be using. They're also known as a widowmaker for the fear fact that a young man starting on one of these machines at 18 was either dead or died by the age of 28, so not a machine you want your family members to be going out and using back in the day. Now, one of the things I always mention is about our Aussie miners. These guys used to grow these great big bushy beards. One of the reasons they would grow those great big bushy beards was just to help filter that dust out as these men were using those machines. So it was a very clever idea by these men, but an even simpler invention came about, and it was known as a Colorado drill bit. So it was simple as it had a hole all the way through that drill piece, all the way to the tip. That allowed water to flow through. So instead of all this dust coming back at these miners start now getting covered in a nice sludge or a slurry. I kind of always think with 14 pubs in this town and a couple of breweries back in the day, I'm pretty sure most miners probably knocked off their 8-hour shift, went to their local, maybe had their scotch or whiskey, smoked their pipes and wrecked their lungs that way anyway as well. Now, all miners would have had to carry what is known as a miner spider. So it is a very, very simple little tool. Still unsure why it is called a miner spider, but it is. So it had a little hole at one end, little leg at the other. That hole would have sat that candle in it. That little leg gets tapped into a rock somewhere. And that was their form of lighting as they're down here digging away. Now, I can also tell you that mining companies did not supply their men with miner spiders, nor did they supply their men with candles. Men and miners used to have to make their own miner spiders, and they would also have to make their own candles. So I guess you wanted a mate that was either pretty good with steelwork, or you need somebody and yourself was going to learn how to do this, because it was the only form of lighting as you were down here digging away, and the companies that were not supplying them to the men. So the other part is candles became a bit of a, not only for their lighting, it became a time keep and a bit of a safety thing. So as a time keep, men actually started learning how long candles would burn for. They would make notches on the sides of their candles. So as those candles are melting away, and those notches start melting away, they could actually give them an idea of how long they'd actually been underground for. As a safety thing, if that candle starts going out too often, it means that there is no oxygen down here where those men were working. So no man ever wanted to hang around around where there was no oxygen while they were trying to mine. So it became a very much the safety thing, a time keep, and their own form of lighting. But all the men were making them themselves. Now, a bit of history for Walhalla. Walhalla was actually the very first town in Victoria to ever get electricity. We did not get house lights, we did not get street lights, we did not get anything nice like that. We got a crushing plant that they put down the bottom of our hill at the mine. So you can see our old shed that hangs down the bottom of our hill here. That used to actually be a crushing plant area. So they put lights in that crushing plant. They put lights in the main drive of this mine. They put lights in our blacksmith shop, and they put lights all around the wood stacks. Wood was such a commodity back in those days. They did not want their wood going missing. Once all the mines shut down, 1914, World War I had started. So out goes all the machinery to help with the war efforts. Out goes all the men. Out goes all the lighting. It was not until 1998 that we actually got electricity back down here in Walhalla. So the same year the rest of the world gets the internet turned on, Walhalla finally got some electricity back down here. We still do not have any street lights whatsoever in this town. So if you've gone all the way to the train station, up to near the Chinese gardens, there is not one single street light within this town whatsoever. I can also tell you on the outskirts of Walhalla, I still have a couple of mates that actually run off generators and other bits and pieces. Considering we are 40 minutes away from Victoria's main power supply, go good old Victoria. It is always the state to be in. We just keep getting better and better. Maybe let's not get down into that down here. Is there any questions before I move us along? Everyone's pretty good? Fantastic. We're going to be heading this way. So as we move along, please, anyone that's a bit taller, please watch your heads as you're coming through these steps. All right.
Yeah, we've got
Так, а ну, кстати, снайпер. Концерт.
All right, we better catch up.
Yeah. That's okay. Maybe you don't think you send for Yes, yeah. For us. So welcome into our small machinery chamber, everyone. This room was actually dug out and whole what is known as a Cornish boiler, or what you can all see on our black and white picture up there. That is the Cornish boiler. So good catch. The Cornish boiler sits about 2 meters in diameter, 6 meters long, and they get filled with the water and a fire gets set inside. That fire is then able to heat all that water. Water then creates steam. Steam's creating pressure. Pressure is what's running all these air-operated pressurized tools within this mine. In full production, there is actually 5 boilers within this mine. 1 in this chamber, another 4 in our main chamber. Also a very unique feature of this mine, go to places like Ballarat and Bendigo, all their machinery chambers were actually on the outsides of their mine. We needed ours on the inside to keep that pressure closer and to keep all those tools operational. The other thing is, I can tell you that each and every single one of these boilers was actually brought into this mine in one piece, as they would have had to have been pressure tested and everything else before they were even entered into this mine to make sure that they were workable condition for these men to be working with. And each and every one of those boilers has actually come through our main drive that we have just walked down before. So you can only imagine the efforts that these men were actually having to go to bring these kinds of boilers with inside this mine. The tonnage in those boilers would have been absolutely amazing. Now, each and every one of those boilers as well, they're burning about 5 tons of wood per day. So we're in full production with this mine running 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. The only day that this mine did not run back in those days was on a Sunday, which was a day of rest, or back in those times, a day of church. So with 5 boilers running, each boiler runs about 5 tons of wood per week, or per day. While in full production, this mine is using 30 to 35,000 tons of wood per year to keep this mine operational. Now, the other part is there was 25 other mines running in Walhalla and about 4,000 people. So not only did all these people need to stay warm, mines needed that wood to be operating. Without a tree standing around Walhalla for about 8 to 9 kilometres in diameter, nature has one great way of healing man's scars, but you can also imagine that wood source was very, very much a commodity back in those days. They actually needed 75 kilometres worth of tramway tracks in and around Walhalla just to help bring that wood source in from outside areas and to keep all these mines operational. Wood definitely was a commodity. Now, also, you can also imagine how hot it would have been getting within this mine with 5 boilers running 24 hours a day. They reckon it was about 45 degrees within this mine with all these boilers running. So they need some ventilation to start coming in, except for just coming in through that main drive. So they did put a ventilation shaft in. So just over here, we've got our exit sign. Goes around the corner about 5 metres, snakes back around, up on a 75-degree angle, 150 metres out to the surface. But even today, as we go in and out of our main drive, you just might feel that little bit of a breeze that is coming from that ventilation shaft. To be able to circulate the air within this mine is very, very important to be able to do that, especially back in the 1880s with all their boilers running. Now, no mining company this day and age wants to come in and just start digging around without knowing what they're going to find for 4 to 5 years. That means they're spending money and not getting anything back. So mining companies this day and age will do what is known as core sample drilling holes. Go over on our wall over here, you'll see that there's a fair few holes getting about this wall. Some of these holes can go up to 1 metre, some of them actually go up to 1 kilometre. These holes get drilled in by the core samples. They go up to 1 metre, up to 1 kilometre. They take those core samples out. They'll put them on a lab tray like this one. Lab technicians go through them, tell these companies whether it's worth mining or not to mine. Obviously, none of those core samples were worth mining, so we all get to kind of do our tours this day and age. Now, one thing since working here that I found out, quartz is actually translucent. I just find that remarkable. I love it. I would love to make a quartz light, just don't know the boss is going to let me start taking too much quartz out of this mine to start making lights with, but I think it'd be pretty cool.
Wow.
Other part, not everything that glitters is gold. So on the other end of this rock, you'll notice that there's a nice bit of sparkle. That is all known as pyrite, or what is known as fool's gold. So I can only imagine back in the days when these men are working by candlelight, pulling out and seeing some of that sparkly bit, only to be told it was worth nothing by these men. I'm pretty sure some of these men got a bit sad. You see the sparkly bit, fella? Yeah.
Disappointed.
Very disappointing. And all my candlelight hard work, hey? Alright. So, Long Tunnel Extended, or Hercules Gold Mine, they operated for 6 years. They were the ones that found our quartz reef, made no profit. Long Tunnel Extended has then taken another 4 years to dig out that main drive, another 5 years to dig out all these connecting chambers and passageways. So now this mine has actually operated for 15 years and there is still not a single bit of profit that is being made. So you could imagine if you're a shareholder, you're holding on for dear life, otherwise you're selling up, you don't want anything to do with it. But then I always think about these men, these miners that were working in here as well. They got told that if they find gold, they'll get a gold bonus. That still has not happened for 15 years for any of these men. So not only do the shareholders start getting antsy, but the men working in here are starting to get a bit cheap feed as well. They want a little bit better money return as well. So is there any questions before I move us to our next little chamber? No? Alright, we're going to head to our next chamber and we're going to see if any luck changes for this company and the men.
Den was like, yeah, I think that's a little more to something.
Now, in our main chamber, everyone, this room was actually 40 metres long originally. Unfortunately, there was a collapse in the 80s, so we do not go any further back, but it is made safe for us to all come and do these tours. But we only really get to stand in 1/3 what this room originally was, so it goes to show you how big this area would have been. Now, I also mentioned there would have been another 4 boilers within this area, and you can probably see where those boilers would have sat today. So you've got 2 vertical boilers over here, another 2 horizontal boilers just over here. Now, all these boilers in this mine need somewhere for their smoke to go. So it was actually up to 2 Cornish brothers to build these chimneys, and they had to do it all from the inside out. They couldn't have started from the outside and worked their way in case they were those couple of inches to a mil off from where these boilers actually sat. So each and every one of those chimneys joins directly from where the boilers sat. They're joined up on a 45-degree angle and 150 metres out to the surface. So pretty remarkable what these men are doing to be able to build these chimneys. As I said, it was all done from the inside out. So digging it out and then having to brick it up, I can only imagine the efforts that these men were going to. The other thing is I've stuck my head in that chimney over there, and I can guarantee each and every one of you there is not too much room to be moving about in that area, so I still wonder how these men were doing it. The other thing, if any of those boilers were actually running at the time these men are having to make these chimneys, they are not also dealing with the fact that they are now digging upwards and dirt is falling on them. They're also dealing with the heat and the smoke from these boilers as well. So incredible efforts. The other thing I'll always mention as well is their work still stands here after 150 years. These men knew how to build things and they built it to last. Not like in our throwaway world, we get a new house built and we can't even move into it because the house hasn't been built properly. Whereas all their work still stands here after 150 years. So I'll always give these guys credit where credit is due. Their craftsmanship and the way they built things back in those days was absolutely astonishing, and it still stands here today to tell its story. Over to the border over here, and you can see all the different names at the very top. We're here at the Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine, and we've entered in from this point here, and we've only walked to this point right here. Behind all these pigsties is that main shaft. That main shaft is actually 937 metres deep. The deepest point of this mine is 1,120 metres deep. Give you an idea of how deep down that goes, if anyone has been to the Skydeck in Melbourne, they reckon there's about 4 of them underneath our feet of how deep down this mine actually goes. The other part is this dotted line here. This is sea level. So most of this mine was actually built below sea level. So there was lots of issues working in ankle deep to knee deep water, pumping water out of those lower levels so that these men could keep chase that alluvial gold. So very harsh conditions for the men that are working in here. The other part is if it's only 2 men in and out of that main shaft at a time and you're on a team of 50 men, you can only imagine how long it was also taking some of these men to get in and out of their work spots, especially if they're on those lower levels. Otherwise, some of these men were actually climbing up and down ladders, 937 metres, so pretty harsh going. Little bit of engineering genius at its absolute finest, and I'm still amazed by this engineering genius with this tunnel. This incline tunnel was put in the 1880s. As I said, engineering genius at its finest. They actually started this tunnel in 2 different sections. They met in the middle and were only a half an inch off when they did this tunnel. Considering this was done in the 1880s, we got tunnels in Melbourne they don't know how to finish or how long has it taken for them to build. I just find this absolutely remarkable of how they did this back in the 1880s, considering what's happening this day and age. Now, this 4,000 feet worth of incline shaft, as I said, was a great way. This actually allowed 10 men in and out at a time. So instead of 2 men up and down in that shaft or men having to climb up and down ladders, this was actually able to allow those 10 men in and out at a time. Now you will still see the remnants of the poppet head from this incline shaft. So if you're in town today, down in the old post office red phone box, take a look up on the hill and you'll see some green steel and a nice yellow wheel. That is the remaining poppet head of where that incline shaft used to head down to those lower levels and hurl these men into these lower levels. So they said it was a 2-minute trip from the top to the bottom, and generally you guys were going in at about 50 k's an hour when you're heading into this area in those lower levels. So I guess some people would see that as an amusement ride this day, but I guess those men back in those times, they were not lighting their candle before they headed down to those lower levels, and you definitely didn't want to stick any part of your body part out of that moving incline shaft as you're heading down to those lower levels, especially at 50 k's an hour. Just incredible what these guys were doing. Now, Long Tunnel Extended, we actually couldn't relocate some of this reef here until July of 1881. By 1885, this mine had actually produced 40,000 ounces of gold. So shareholders start getting a little bit happier, miners start getting a little bit happier because their pay's increased, shareholders get some returns back. So things start moving along, work production really starts happening for this gold mine. In the end, Long Tunnel Extended starts setting records as a lead producer of gold within Victoria and also at one point within Australia. And that is from 1896 all the way up until 1908. We were the lead producer of gold within Victoria, and as I said, at one point within Australia. So remarkable amounts of alluvial gold were actually coming out of this town and this gold mine. In the end, Long Tunnel Extended actually produces 440,312 ounces of alluvial gold, which is 13.7 tonnes or 3.3 billion Australian dollars worth of gold came out of this mine. So incredible amounts. Long Tunnel, they were actually able to produce 25.4 tonnes, which is about 3.4 billion Australian dollars worth. Our Emperor shaft, they sit across from the Wally pub cemetery area. They went down 427 metres, were able to produce 4.5 tonnes of gold. Our Boral console shaft, however, these guys went down 716 metres, dug around for 23 years and got a profit of absolutely nothing. So gold fever did not always get the best of man, nor did it get the best of some of these companies. Now altogether in Walhalla, they said it was 55 tonnes worth of gold, which sits at about 6.3 billion Australian dollars worth of gold came out of this mine. So throughout this town, so absolute incredible efforts of how much alluvial gold was actually being pulled out. Now, while all these mines are running back in the 1880s and late 1800s, you're looking at about 4,000 people in this town. So really one of the biggest towns in Gippsland. We were not quite as big as Sale, but we were actually bigger than Bairnsdale and places like Lake Centris. There was people scattered all over these hillsides, living in little shanties, bark huts, whatever these men and women could live in. They were living in it so that these men could actually chase that alluvial gold for some of these companies. Incredible efforts. Well, once World War I starts, out goes all the mines, out goes all the men, out goes all the lighting, and by 1980 we only actually had 8 to 10 permanent residents in this town. This day and age, with a little bit better roads and some tourism, we're sitting up to about 18 to 24 permanent residents. I can tell you we've just had an extra 2 people put on as last week, so we're doing pretty well down here in Walhalla. Hopefully we never ever get back to that 4,000 people, because I don't know where you're all going to stay or where these cars are going to park this day and age. Now, I cannot show you that main shaft anymore because it does sit behind all our pit stars, but we do have a little bit of a replica shaft over here. So, a replica shaft sits at about 3 metres wide by about 2 metres deep. There is that section for the ladder, section for the ore cut, go up, down. Still don't know I'd want to climb 937 metres up and down ladders, but that's what some of these guys were doing. Other part is for the ore cuts to go up and down. Now you've got to remember there was no PPE gear back in those days, or OH&S workers to come and tell these men they could not go to work because they did not have the right gear on. Men are going to work so they could feed their families and put food on their tables. So there was a metal plate, and that was the only thing that was going to be protecting these men's heads as they was hitting it in and out of those main shafts. The other thing I'll always mention is shoes. Well, we could only imagine with one shoemaker in town, and you could also imagine how much leather was back in those days. Shoes were very, very much a commodity. These men did not want to wreck their leather shoes. They needed to keep them for Sunday and their day of church. So these men would actually leave their good leather shoes up here on the top level. They would then wrap their feet in rags, dip them in some tallow, as I've mentioned, is animal fat, and head down to those lower levels to work. So the men that were working in this gold mine are working in ankle deep to knee deep water with only some rags and some fat on their feet. So I always think no wonder so many of our young Australian men lied about their age when World War I come about. If they were working in places like this, they went from one trench to another. So lest we forget, another part. Lots of bells, and a very important part of this job was to be a signalman. Now I tried to remember this code signal sheet here. For the life of me, I cannot remember it. Have done for tried to for the last couple of years. Definitely not able to remember it, so definitely would have been a good code signalman. But to be a code signalman, you had to be able to remember all the bells. They were knowing, so bells were going if winching gears were going up, down. If there was accidents, there would have been bells rang out, and these men had to definitely know what all those bells meant. As I said, for the life of me, I cannot remember. Now, if anyone would like to take some photos while you're in here, please feel free to do so. If you want any questions asked, please ask me, and then I'll move us to our next little spot.
Now to the because you don't have to have a black tie. So it's the green and the I do from that. It's starting. Oh, well, it's right there. Well, from your phone. Oh, there. Oh, look at the we need time more. It's kind of I'm carrying them down.
So,
I'm able to it's the last thing yeah, that's okay.
for art. So, welcome to our crib room or our brew room. Now, at first when miners actually went to work, in the very first, they were actually paid to do an 8-hour stint, and an 8-hour job they did. So with 4,000 people in this town, if a man was not ready to work, They went out the door and another man came in and took his position. Now, it's actually our Aussie shearers that went on strike first. They were actually awarded a 10-minute meal break. Not too long after, the Aussie miners followed suit. They also went on strike. They were also awarded that 10-minute meal break. So I always say thank you to those Aussie forefathers for giving us our hour-long lunch break that we all get today. There was none of that for these men. It was a 10-minute meal break and that was it. So they put crib rooms on each level of their mine. The men would go in, have their bite to eat, and back to work they went. They would call them a crib room because they used to play an old card game called cribbage, or they'd call them a brew room because you used to have your belly of tea and your brew. Now the other thing, they used to whitewash these walls with a bit of limestone just to make them that little bit brighter. And the other unpleasant thing that was in a corner of a crib room was a bucket, and somebody had a very crappy job of looking after that bucket. Eric, I'll leave that up to you. Now, so I'm very grateful we do not have those kinds of things in our mine or even in our lunch rooms this day and age. Now, we all say thank you for coming down here under the Long Tunnel Extended Gold Mine. Hope you've all enjoyed yourself while you're down here. We all say that there's light at the end of our tunnel. So as you head out, just put your hat set back and enjoy the rest of your day. And kids, I might have something for you all. Whoa.
Ooh.
Thank you. There you go. Yeah. So these are stuff we make.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome, darling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did I get enough for you?
Just make sure there's enough.
Is this actual gold?
Is it?
Is it?
Wow.
Yes, gold leaf, but unfortunately it looks a bit more copper than gold, so they didn't work out as good as I'd like them to.
Is this actual gold?
It's got greasy, that one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, she's like, I did go to and that's why I was like, hang on, did I not?
I said, wait for sure one first.
Sure, I can.
What is it? Thank you.
So it is gold leaf, but unfortunately it looks a bit more coppery than gold this day and age because they didn't give us the right one, but us as tour guides, we make it for a few kids. So enjoy your time while you're here in Walhalla. Safe travels on those roads, everyone, and all the best for this year ahead.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all, guys. You all take care.
You did really well, Catherine.
When I give myself, I'm going to put it in here.
What are you going to do?
When I give myself, I'm going to put this in my
Oh, good choice.
They're obviously buying a money box.
I think I'll
It's all right. I'll come out. We can come outside and do all that. Okay. You should all head out. Yep, you should all head out and just push that gate.
Not going for a funky. Oh, I can't go.
What did you reckon, H?
Good.
That was good. What did you get? Oh, that looks cool.
It looked like gold in there.
Didn't it?
It looked like so much gold. But now it looks like...
Did you want to have a photo
something.
with Kaz to say thank you? Take a photo with Kaz at the front.
Yeah.
It's way too full.
That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.